book never comes out of a vacuum. It doesn't just materialize out of thin air. It's coming from some source, from some writer, and that writer has some context. So I've got context for my book, A Case for Character. And my context primarily grew out of my experience in the parish. Before I started teaching at the seminary, I spent 11 years as a parish pastor, and those were 11 wonderful years working with the people of God, sharing God's truth with them, shaping them, being shaped by them. It was just a delightful 11 years. I enjoyed it. But one of the experiences I had during those 11 years caused some frustration, which led me to do eventually more careful research. And that frustration was simply the issue of not always feeling like I had the resources available to be able to give people concrete, specific answers to their really concrete, specific questions. So if I would have somebody perhaps come in to see me in the office and say, Pastor, I've got an issue, I've got a family struggle, I've got a child I'm having some trouble with, or I've got a neighbor who is just continually causing trouble for me and I'm trying to figure out how to handle this situation, or I'm having some significant financial problems and I need some help getting this thing straightened out. Often it seemed like the resources that were available to them were coming from traditions or from sources other than Lutheranism. In fact, my experience in the parish has been confirmed many, many, many times by other scholars and other thinkers who have suggested that Lutheranism might be really good at doing doctrine, but is not really very good at doing practical, ethical kinds of things. Because that's what really all this practical stuff is. It's the purview of ethics. Because ethics is really nothing more than living out behavior and doing things and thinking things and acting on things. That's what really ethics is. So it's become sort of a widespread idea that Lutheranism is great at laying down things like you're a sinner and you need the gospel and you need forgiveness, and Lutheranism delivers that stuff really well. Boy, we've got means of grace, we've got word and sacrament. We know how to do that. We know how to give people Jesus. We know how to give people forgiveness of sins and comfort and assurance. But when it comes to the things like how to handle rebellious kids, or how to deal with a really hard boss, or how to get your personal finances lined up. Well, when it comes to those kinds of things, well, frankly, you're better off just going down to the Christian bookstore and check out some of the resources, and you'll find something more useful there, because we don't have much there. And there are even some who I have experienced, some pastors who would have the idea that, in fact, those things are actually out of bounds for good Lutheran theology. Those things aren't even things we should deal with, which exactly perpetuates and confirms this suspicion that, you see, there's something inherently wrong with Lutheran doctrine, that it just can't handle ethics. And this idea has been around for a long time. Well, it was these experiences and these ideas that are often voiced in the academy that led me and prompted me to actually start thinking about, is that true? Is there something inherently lacking within Lutheran theology that keeps us from being able to engage these kind of concrete, specific questions with really practical answers? And so that led me to carefully investigate and look about some things, especially going back into our own Lutheran heritage, looking at Luther and Melanchthon and the Book of Concord and the early confessions. And what I discovered is what I lay out in A Case for Character. And essentially the argument I'm going to make, and the argument I hope you will follow along with me and learn with me, is that it's not part of our Lutheran heritage. It's not inherent in Lutheranism to be able to distance ourselves from practical ethical concerns, but these are actually things that are very much right smack in the middle of good Lutheran thought and are consistent with everything we try to do as faithful teachers of God's truth. It all fits together. So I hope that you will come to that same conclusion as you read along with me in my book, A Case for Character, and we can benefit from what is actually taught in this core of our faith we call Lutheranism.